Hi, this is Wade Tolles, and today's session is how to configure your own local test environment using the Windows Hyper-V that's included with your Windows 10 or 11. So let's go ahead and get started. First thing we want to do is we want to go to the control panel and make sure that your system has the proper software installed. So to do that, go to Programs and Features. From your control panel, go to Turn Windows Features On or Off, and then make sure that Hyper-V, that all four of those Hyper-V settings have been selected. If they have not, go ahead and check those. It'll take a minute or two to install that software from the Windows folder, and then your machine will need to be restarted. Once you have done that, you can close all that up. It'll automatically close actually when you restart. Once you've done that, you'll want to open your Hyper-V Manager. All right, in your Hyper-V Manager, you have a few settings that are going to control how your new virtual machine will be created and how it acts. So the first thing you want to do is go into the Virtual Switch Manager and create a new virtual switch. And you'll click the Create Virtual. I've already done that, but create the virtual switch. Select the external, and within the new virtual switch that you're going to create, select External Network, and then pick the Ethernet card that has external access. And it's going to be different. It could be a Realtek, it could be Intel, whatever it is for your machine, but you want the Ethernet connection. And then allow management operating system to share this network adapter. Again, if you haven't gotten this set up, it'll say that this may disrupt your network while it's configuring it. But if it does, in each instance that I've done it, it goes back to normal afterwards. When you've done that, you can hit OK. And then you can actually at that point go in and set your default virtual machine's location. I put them in a specific drive. That way, every time you create one, it will come up in that folder. Otherwise, the default, I think, is in your program files deep in that directory. So I like it relatively close to the base drive. So I've got it on a drive that I have plenty of space, and I go ahead and put it there. Now that we've got that created, we can go ahead and create our new virtual machine. And to do that, we'll click New Virtual Machine. And then we'll go step by step through this. And we're going to call this our Win 2019 Hyper-V VM. And as we noted before, by default, it's going to go to the D Hyper-V machines. We'll click Next. I use Generation 1 just for compatibility. I'm not sure. I haven't tried the other one. I don't know whether it would work or not. Doesn't really matter. Either one of them is going to create a virtual machine. And the startup memory, you can set to whatever you would typically need. If you need to run some applications, 4 gig is fine, but you can modify that later once you've created the image. So 4 gig is fine. And then the next screen talks about your networking. Now, you do want to configure this and use the new virtual switch that you set up in that previous, where I showed you a few minutes ago, setting that up in your switch manager. So use the new virtual switch. If you don't set that up there, you can fix that later, but it's kind of a pain to change that all out once you've got this image configured. We'll click Next. Now, this is your actual virtual hard disk. I've got a place for that as well instead of the default virtual hard disks. I like to put that again in a specific location that I know where it is. And in this case, I'm going to put it in my hard disks, Hyper-V disks. I don't want a huge hard drive, but I'm going to go ahead and set up an 80 gigabyte. That's a good standard size for a new test environment. And then we'll click Next. And then The last screen that you need to configure is to install an existing system later or to install it from an image. I always use install it later. That way it gives me the basic system, and then I can install whatever ISO or whatever I need to at a later time. So we'll go ahead and do that. And that tells us what we've done, and we'll click Finish. And it sets that up very quickly. At this point, we want to go ahead into the virtual machine before we go much further to the settings and make sure that we enable the DVD drive in the settings. We're not going to have an actual folder. We're going to use the image file. And in this case, that file, I have again located that in a folder on my existing drive. And it's called simply Windows 2019 ISO. So I'm going to select that file. That's now going to be my installation ISO, which is the same thing as a DVD. We'll click Apply and hit OK. And now when we go ahead and we start this machine and then connect to it by double clicking it, it's going to go in and it's going to look and see that ISO drive as if it was a regular DVD. So we'll click Next. And we're going to install now. And it's going to ask us which installation file that we want it to use. In this case, you could set up a straight server like you would in a server room somewhere on a rack. I prefer to use the desktop experience because I like having my windows available and all the normal stuff I'm used to dealing with in Windows. We'll go ahead and hit Next. We'll accept the license agreement. This, again, is a trial license. There is no upgrade, so we're going to install this Windows only. Note that it's on the local drive that we just created a minute ago, the 80 gigabyte drive. We're going to say Next. And then it's going to begin the installation, just as if this were a regular laptop installation. Now, because it's a virtual machine, it's a little bit faster. Not much, but it is a little bit faster. What I'm going to do is I'm going to delete all the blank space in here just to shorten this video. And there we go. Now we'll go ahead and enter our VM password, which I would never enter your actual password that you would use anywhere else. Just enter some different password. Password is a good one. And we'll go ahead and connect to that. And now we are connected to our machine. If we click our virtual machine password, we now have a full-blown Windows operating system. So I hope that was helpful. That's the end of this particular how-to session. If you've got any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments, and I'll respond to them as soon as I can. Have a great day.